Today I'm gonna teach you how to get over your fear of risk. And this is extremely important for you because if you wanna fast track your way to wealth and to having financial freedom, you need to find ways to take risks. No one ever got wealthy or rich by just saving and saving and saving. They found a way to actually invest their money and take those necessary risks. And I'm gonna be super straight up with you. Everyone has their own natural tolerance to risk. It's in the DNA. But what people don't realize is that risk is kind of like a muscle. You can actually train and get better at taking risks. So you can be more comfortable taking risks with just a little bit of practice. What I wanna do in this video is one, inspire you to start taking your risk if you are trying to achieve wealth or financial freedom. And two, I wanna actually teach you how to overcome your risk aversion if you are afraid of risk. Like I said, the first thing I wanna do is inspire you. So let me tell you a story of what I've recently done as far as risk taking and how it's benefited me. So I've been spending $2,000 every single month on my content creation team. So that goes for my editors and my content manager. $2,000 a month for 5 months, that's $10,000 I have spent. And you're thinking, why would you spend that much on social media? Isn't that risky? Like, what's even the benefits to it? And for me, I'm trying to do a couple things. I'm trying to build an audience, a following, and I'm also trying to monetize it through finding deals or finding private money to help me out with my actual real estate investing business. And yes, when I was just starting and I wanted to hire that first editor, it was terrifying because I've never hired someone to pay him on a monthly basis for editing. I had no idea if I would get a return on the money. I actually thought I wouldn't make a return on this money for my editing for like 3 years, but I was still willing to commit to it. So you might think I'm crazy, but honestly, in those 5 months, I managed to find 2 deals from social media, people that found me on social media, and those 2 deals are going to net profit me of $34,500. Now, if you calculate the return on my investment of $10,000, I put $10,000 in for my social media, I got $34,500 out of it. That's a 345% return on investment. Now that's absolutely insane. You're not gonna see that kind of return in like a stock market or anything else, but I only got that kind of return because I took a lot of risk up front. It was scary hiring editors. I have 3 editors right now, 1 content manager, and like I said, 2,000 bucks a month is not a small amount for the everyday person. And it's not like I had a large amount of cash up front that I was ready to pay. Like, no, I kind of took a big risk. Like, I'm starting new with my real estate investing business and trying to do social media at the same time, so it was a huge risk. But what I want you to take from it is that the risk paid off, and they always pay off for the most part. Maybe not quickly, maybe not as fast as the 5 months that I've been spending, but I've been doing a crap ton of work for the social media and for you to see this video. But all risk eventually pay off, in my opinion. If they're educated risk and you make a good decision, they're gonna pay off in the long run. So you heard that story, and 1, you might have been inspired by it, but 2, you also could have just been turned off and you're like, there's no way I could take that much risk for myself. Like, that's not how I am. So if you are completely risk averse and that story scares you and you still want to accelerate your way toward wealth and towards financial freedom, then I want you to do a couple things. 1 is start small. Start taking small bets and small risk. And risk aren't gambling. Like, I don't want you to get confused with taking risks and gambling. Those are different things. Gambling is you're leaving your money up to complete chance. Like, you're gonna flip a card and you're gonna get paid if it gets this, you're not gonna get paid if it gets this. Like, that's gambling. Risk taking is taking educated guesses and learning about what you're trying to invest in so that you can get a return on your money. So if you're ever investing money, you want to know to yourself that you're thinking that you're gonna get that money back. I don't want you to confuse the two. But one of the best ways to overcome risk aversion is to start with small risk. And it could be stuff like super small. Like, you could open a brokerage account and you could buy $50 worth of stocks or $50 of an index fund or something to where you put a small amount of money towards an investment and you learn from that by doing and taking that one little risk. Even though you're like, I'm not gonna get rich with 50 bucks. Yeah, you probably won't get rich with 50 bucks invested. I mean, maybe if you invested in crypto and held it for a long time, I don't know. But for the most part, 50 bucks isn't gonna change your whole financial future. But what it can do is it can get you in the mindset that you are able to take risk, you're able to handle it, you're able to stomach it, and that eventually as you keep doing it and get bigger risk and bigger risk and bigger risk and slowly start investing more and more money or time or whatever it is, you're naturally gonna get better at it. It's just like a muscle. If you're into fitness like I am, you'll know that you train every single day, you train your muscles, eventually you get a lot stronger. It doesn't happen quickly, but eventually you get a lot stronger, your physique will start to show it. Same exact thing goes for your risk-taking muscles. The second thing I want you to do if you are risk averse is this. If you are about to take a big risk and you can't even stomach the idea of doing it, or you just can't get yourself to do it and make that leap of faith, then I want you to imagine the worst case scenario. Now you might be thinking, why the heck would you want me to imagine the worst case scenario? Won't that make me not want to make the leap of faith? And I argue it actually helps. So whenever I made a big decision in my life, a big risk, a big leap of faith, I've always kind of asked myself, what's the worst thing that could possibly happen to me? And every time I've thought about the worst possible thing that could ever happen to me if I made a decision, I figured out, okay, if the worst possible thing happened, what would really happen to me? Like, where would I be at? Like, would I be okay? Would I be dead? Like, what's the situation? And most times, once I realize the worst possible case scenario, it's like, oh, okay, I have to move back home, live with my parents, work a job, maybe try YouTube on the side. Like, that's kind of what I would do if maybe the business thing didn't work out. And a lot of entrepreneurs say, never have a backup plan, you know, burn all the bridges. I kind of disagree. Like, I agree that you should be fully committed, and not necessarily that you should have a backup plan, but I do think that you should be aware of what might happen so that you are prepared mentally for it, especially if you are risk averse. So remember, every time you're making a big decision, think to yourself, okay, what's the worst thing that can possibly happen to me? Think of it and then get yourself to be okay with it, because if you've already kind of lived it in your head, and I'm not saying to overly focus on the bad thing that could happen, I'm just saying get it in your head once, just to get a possibility, maybe a very small possibility of what could happen in the worst case scenario. And once you're comfortable with that, comfortable with failing, because you should be comfortable with failing. If you're gonna drive forward and push forward and take all these risks, expect to fail sometimes. So once you think about the worst possible case scenario for yourself in a risk-taking situation, I want you to think about it and then compare the upside to what the downsides are. And most often, the upsides are gonna greatly outweigh the downside. So really do that first. And the third thing that I'm gonna recommend for you to do to get over your risk aversion is to be around other risk takers. I mean, you may have heard a quote that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, and it's extremely true. So think about your circle. Think about your 5 people you spend the most time with, and think about, are they taking a lot of risk to project themselves into wealth or financial freedom? And if not, consider finding other friends. I'm not saying abandon your friends. I'm just saying if you want to do the stuff that gets you wealthy, you have to be around wealthy people to understand it, or people that are going in that direction as well. So be around other wealthy people and people who are on that path to financial freedom, because they're gonna pull you up. To recap, the 3 things that I want you to do if you're risk averse are: take small bets first, take the small risks first. 2, imagine the worst case scenario. And 3, be around other risk takers. I hope you really enjoyed this video, and I hope this actually sat well with you if you are scared of risk and fearful of it. So I promise you, if you just follow the things that I told you in this video, and if you're scared of risk, you will slowly overcome that fear. I promise. You have to realize that if you want to get on that fast track to wealth, you are going to have to take some risks. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you want more videos like this, make a ton of videos about real estate, money, and self-development, and I also just document my journey as a young real estate investor and entrepreneur. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you at the next one.